Welcome to the BartenderHQ.com podcast with me, David Eden-Sangwell, live from the Vanguard, but I'm here on my own. I'm taking over the bar for the evening. Sam has gone over to Leicester. He is taking over another bar, which is called the Gadabout. That is over in Leicester. It used to be called Taps. They've reopened. I think it's been open for about a year now. They're just coming up to their 1 year sort of anniversary, and he is doing his cocktail menu over there. He's taken a bunch of his drinks, pre-batched here at the Vanguard, and taken them over to Leicester. So he'll be serving over there for the evening. So anyone that decides to come into the Vanguard this evening is going to be stuck with me. So we haven't really kind of kicked off for the day. England have just played their game of football in the World Cup. They've absolutely thrashed Panama, so that's quite exciting as an English person, although an English person who really doesn't understand or get or care about sport in general, but the World Cup is one of those things where you kind of get a little bit interested. If you want to see what my kind of involvement in the World Cup has been so far, over at the Catalyst PLB page, we've been running a tournament which is between different cocktails. So we're doing a head-to-head cocktail tournament throughout the World Cup, where our Facebook likers and our Facebook fans are able to kind of jump in there and vote for their favourite cocktails head-to-head, and we'll do a bit of a tournament and we'll get to a winning cocktail by the end of the World Cup. We're going to try and synchronise it so that we have the final on the day of the World Cup final. But a couple of things I wanted to talk about. So I was away last week. I was away with the family. We went over to Tenerife. We went and enjoyed a little bit of time over there. We went and spent some time with my parents and our kids. So it was a lovely kind of week. There is an article going up in the next couple of days about the drinks that we had over there, and a little bit around the kind of drinking culture in Tenerife, which is quite Spanish influenced, although while it's part of Spain technically, it doesn't feel quite like Spain because of the African coast, so it's got kind of a bit of a different vibe in the Canary Islands. But either way, very interesting. It's still quite gin and tonic heavy, but surprisingly a lot of bars that were offering Negronis, Aperol Spritzers. There was also some old fashions and other drinks like that available. So that was quite a nice surprise. I thought it was going to be very much dominated by your Blue Lagoons and your Pina Coladas, Sex on the Beach, all that kind of thing. It wasn't as bad as I expected in terms of the drinks on offer. Also, the premiumisation side of things is starting to appear out there as well. So it's not purely like the local spirits. Local beer-wise, AB InBev's Dorada was massive. It's all brewed on the island, so I guess that's why it's their local beer. And it's actually really tasty. I had a couple of pints while I was over there, really good. But for this episode, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about something which has annoyed me a bit this morning. It's been on the news over here in the UK that the government is looking to ban sweets and things like that at checkouts in supermarkets. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, the way that I see this kind of thing is I'm not massive on government intervention on people's diets and that kind of thing. By all means, I mean, we've just had in the UK, to give you a little bit of context, we've just had the sugar tax imposed, which means that I think it's 24 pence per litre on anything that's over a certain amount of sugar, which includes things like Coca-Cola, full sugar sodas, things like that. So this is all kind of come into place recently. It also means that things like tonic waters, if you're not drinking a light tonic water, you're probably going to be paying that sugar tax on top. It's not a massive amount per bottle because obviously tonic water is quite small. But there's also things like clubs over here are now going over to pouring Coke Zero by default in the bars. If someone just asks for a vodka and Coke, they will get Coke Zero, signs all over the place. That seems fine to me. So essentially that's kind of skirting that sugar tax. If people really want the original Coca-Cola, I believe it's still available. But with the supermarket thing, now the way that it's been put out there in the media is that it's to give parents a choice so that their children aren't necessarily eating sugary snacks. Parents already have that choice. The choice is right there in, do you want to buy it or not? I know there is a bit of pressure. Like, as a parent myself, I completely understand from the parents' point of view that if the kid's asking for it and they're making a fuss and everything else, sometimes you just want to kind of clear that issue rather than necessarily having a confrontation and potentially making a scene in a shop. However, I really don't think it is the responsibility of A, the government to ban this, or B, I don't think it's the supermarket's problem to solve. It's a case of the supermarkets, their job is to make money, their job is to sell things, and if they can get an add-on sale at the end, which might be a snack, it might be a chocolate bar, it might be a bag of sweets, it might be something like that, it could even be something that's healthier than that, then that's their prerogative. They are there to make money as a business. That is their prerogative, nothing else. They are not responsible for the nation's health. I do understand, I think the sugar tax was a good thing because there's an easy alternative in diet sodas and that kind of thing, and I think it would actually also push a lot of the manufacturers who don't necessarily offer a diet option to offer that. And for me personally, I much prefer to have a Diet Coke or a Dr Pepper Zero or something like that. Dr Pepper Zero was not on our shelves until this talk of the sugar tax was something that has been on the horizon. Now I can get Dr Pepper Zero. That's brilliant for me because I really like the flavour of Dr Pepper, I don't really want the calories, so I'm happy I win both ways. If you are listening though, drinks manufacturers, I would really like a 0-calorie grape soda. Grape soda is honestly one of my favourite flavours that you can get. It always reminds me of the US in the same way that Dr Pepper does from my childhood when we used to go over and we would have Dr Pepper at the all-you-can-eat buffets and all that kind of thing. So I really kind of associate that flavour with the US, and I really think that grape soda is something that we should be getting a 0-calorie version of over here, either a Welch's or one of the other manufacturers. I don't really mind who does it, I would just like it, please. And that being said, I'm also really excited to see what else comes over and if we're going to move more into this 0-calorie world in terms of drinks, because I like a drink because it's refreshing. It's not something that I'm drinking to get my fuel for the day. In terms of my thoughts on whether the government should be involved and the shops themselves, as I said earlier, I don't think the shops should be penalised. They shouldn't be banned from having certain things in certain areas of the shop. By all means, encourage them to put something else there. If you've got a better option, if you've got like protein bars, for example, that we sell in gyms and we sell through vending machines in gyms, and then they're always tucked away in a supermarket. You can get them there, but it's not an easy thing to find straight away. Let's get some of those on there so that we've got an option. We can go for something a little bit healthier, a bit lower sugar, a bit lower carbs, because that's really where everything's going on at the moment. Put some fruit there. Let people actually buy something that's a fruit. A fruit is good for you. It's very nutritious. It's not super calorie dense. It will fill you up. Everyone's happy. I'm not going to take the whole it's natural thing as being better, because I don't believe that is true. There's a lot of natural stuff that will kill you in the world. So I'm not going to go down the if it's natural it's better, and if it's sugary and processed then it's bad. There is a lot of bad processed food out there, but there's also good stuff. Things like Huel, which I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, but that's a really it's supposed to have literally all the nutrients you need in a shake. It's very processed, but it's also designed there to be as nutritious as humanly possible, and actually literally cover everything that you need on a day-to-day basis, so that you can live without having to fuss around with cooking and things like that. I think it would be a very dull life. I'm not sponsored by Huel or anything else like that. I have never tried it, but I think it seems like it would be really boring to have that for every meal. It's like talking about when we used to be talking when I was a kid about having all of your meals in capsule form and things like that. As much as, yes, you can get all the nutrients that you want, you also do want to get some variety into your diet and have some things that you enjoy eating. But in terms of, I just get really angry when people are trying to change attitudes, and there's this huge thing as well, this dichotomy between talking about the obesity epidemic that's going on, and people are overweight and people don't move enough and people eat too much and there's too much sugar in our diet, there's too much processed stuff in our diet, and then on the flip side of that, if you ever mention it to anyone or you talk about people being overweight, apparently you're fat shaming. And like, I don't care how people look, but to be honest, if you're overweight to a decent degree, you are probably going to have health issues as a result of that. There's a very good reason that I'm trying to lose weight. There's a very good reason that I'm going to the gym. At the moment, at least 5 days a week. Typically, I'm trying to get there 7 days a week. It's not always practical with work and with my wife's work and with childcare and things like that. However, I'm working really, really hard to try and lose weight. I've had a gut forever, and I really, really want it gone. Those couple of pints of Dorota while I was over in the Canary Isles will not have helped with that. Neither will the pizzas or the burgers. But now I'm back on it. I'm back to eating a lot more healthily, eating a lot more greens, a lot more salads, a lot more, cutting out chips, cutting out a lot of that sort of stuff. Myself and Sam have actually spoken as well. We are looking to do something. We're looking to bring back that Booze and Bazinga brand that we kind of created and did like 3 episodes of videos and stuff about, because we're both really into geeky stuff. Today we're actually showing, we had a vote between the 80s Transformers movie and Little Shop of Horrors, which actually won the vote. So Little Shop of Horrors will be shown today at the Vanguard's Sunday cinema. So that's what I'm going to be looking after the bar for today. But I did a video as well recently reviewing the new Bumblebee Transformers trailer, which did really, really well. It's probably one of the most popular videos we've done on YouTube already. And I'm really into this stuff, so I'm going to toss some of that in. We're going to talk a little bit more about geek type stuff. We'll put it under this Booze and Bazinga banner, so we will do drink stuff around it as well. So I will be coming up with the Bumblebee cocktail. I really want Sam to be involved with it as well, because obviously with the mead stuff that he does and honey, and therefore Bumblebee, and I think there's a good link to be had there. So we're going to try and do that as well. I also want to get involved with this new Instagram TV thing that's going on. I don't know exactly how it's going to work yet. I know it's vertical video. I despise vertical video, but I think that's because I'm old. And I think there's something there. I've already looked. There's a bunch of guys on there flaring. Well done to you guys. Love to see that. We've spoken to a few guys. I've got some interviews potentially in the works over the next month or so. Fingers crossed that those come off. We will have some really interesting stuff going on. But I would really like to know what your thoughts are on this whole we have an obesity epidemic versus you can't mention weight or what to eat to anyone because of fat shaming thing. I'm really confused by it. I think everyone at the minute wants to be offended by something. If you're offended by this video, let me know in the comments. I'll apologise or not, depending on how polite you are. And whether you actually have a point. If you've got a point, I will apologise to you. I think discussion is important. We need to discuss these things. And I think anyone that's trying to shut down discussion, anyone that's trying to say, oh no, I'm offended by this, we can't talk about it, that's just the wrong attitude. Like, we need to talk about everything. Everything needs to be talked about. We need to actually have conversations. We need to have open dialogue. I know there's a whole bunch of universities that have deplatformed people for saying things that some of the students don't like or might offend someone. You can't do that. Freedom of speech is far more important than some people being upset. If you get offended by something, that means you've got an opinion on it, and tell us your opinion. I want to know. This is the joy of bartending as well. Obviously, you will hear all of these opinions from your guests at the bar. You will have a lot of people expressing opinions, probably that you don't necessarily agree with, but you get to have a discussion with them. We shouldn't probably be particularly opinionated as bartenders when we're talking to our guests at the bar, and I completely agree with that. I don't think we want to be there to offend anyone, but maybe you can get a point across in a really reasonable way that people will engage with. We are here as human beings, and the beauty of bartending, and the reason that bartending I don't think will ever be replaced by automation, is the human aspect. The human aspect of bartending is exactly the thing that should be the focus. We need to create these relationships with our guests. Our guests are literally the people that make our bars what they are, and it's vital that we take the opportunities that we have to actually engage with these people and start a dialogue. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah, if every cocktail becomes pre-bottled, people can go out to a store, they can just go and buy a bottle of Negroni, pour it at home over a piece of ice, and they're going to have the same experience. as going to an automated bar. But if we can engage our guests, if we can create discussions, if we can provoke people to actually talk about their feelings on things and change minds perhaps, if they want to be changed, if people just want to express themselves, that's okay as well. But our guests are the key, and the personalities of bartenders is the one thing that can't be replicated by machines, certainly not yet. With AI that's coming, who knows? But for now, we need to really focus and really, as bartenders, make sure that we're giving the best possible experience to every guest that walks through our doors. I don't get to be behind the stick that often these days. Today I am. Today I'm here at the Vanguard. I'm waiting for our guests to walk through the door, and I'm going to give them the best possible experience. Not only are we going to have our guests walking up to the bar to get their drinks, but while they're sitting watching the movie, if they want to be on their phones, that's fine. This is not a speakeasy. This is not a bar where we restrict what our guests are allowed to do. If they want to send me a message to the Vanguard on Facebook to order their drink, that's fine. They don't have to get up from their stool. They can sit, they can watch the movie, and they can enjoy their drinks that are just brought to them, settle their bill when they leave. That's absolutely fine by me. I know we've touched on a lot of really kind of disparate things in this video, this podcast, and it's all stuff that fits around bartending and fits around the humans that work behind bars. The humans and the human aspect of working behind a bar is the most important thing. There's nothing else. When it comes down to it, relationships are all we have. The drinks are just a vehicle to keep people here, keep the conversation flowing, and keep people sharing their ideas. I've been David Eden-Sangwell for the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Thanks for joining me, and we'll be back for the next one pretty soon.